You're now listening to America's newest true crime comedy podcast. Death and Entertainment starts now.
The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Live from Los Angeles.
Here we go!
This is exciting, isn't it?
We'll do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
What is going on, Deados? How the heck are ya? My name is Kyle Plouffe. We said, okay, bud, and Ben Kissel politics were done, but I wanted to come back here for Death and Entertainment Tonight Live, which is something we did. If the OG fans are in here listening tonight, they know this is a live that we did every week for a while, and I do want to bring it back, so this will be back weekly. I am flying out to Boston later today in just a few hours, and I wanted to jump on here and do a couple quick updates on some stories people were asking about. Yeah, so Ben and Jerry, they might be on this every once in a while. I might have some other friends on here, but for the most part, it's going to be me. And yeah, I'll just be doing weekly updates on different stories. So with that said, let's get into some stuff because there's been some real sad shit happening right before Christmas. On OK Bud, our second to last episode was Don't Kill Anybody Before Christmas or Don't Kill Anybody This Christmas. And it seems like some people didn't follow that advice. So yeah, some real sad stuff out of Los Angeles specifically. There was an OnlyFans creator. His name was Lane Rogers, went by Blake Mitchell, Lane Rogers. He was an adult performer, OnlyFans creator, died December 15th in a motorcycle crash right out here in Ventura County. It was ruled accidental. And I actually got this mixed up with another story because in LA, there was a big suicide of a TikTok creator that just happened December 11th. Tucker Genel. He was a TikTok creator. I didn't think I knew him, but then when I saw his face, I was like, holy shit. He created a TikTok account called Hustle House and did some cryptic tweeting or TikToking right before things kind of went off. TikTok creator, influencer Tucker Genel posted about life being precious in final TikTok before his death. They said he died by suicide at his residence in Los Angeles on Thursday, December 11th. The content creator's final TikTok post used an audio that said life is precious as he reflected on the past year. Tucker, who had a combined following of roughly 3 million people across TikTok and Instagram, was known online for videos on his life, often including his siblings. Yeah, they said it was, friends and family were saying they weren't expecting it. One of his friends even said that his friendship with Tucker actually got him out of committing suicide, which is very sad. That often happens a lot, that the most giving people, the most, infectious people to be around often aren't feeling great themselves. We will watch his final TikTok here.
Well, I think life is precious because you can't watch it again. But once you realise you're not going to be around forever, I think that's what makes life so magical. Well, I think life is precious because you can't watch it again. But once you realise you're not going to be around forever, I think that's what makes life so magical.
Oof, yeah, I know it's a heavy story to start with, but yeah, it's Christmas time, and I know it's very hard on a lot of people. If you're going through anything, call or text 988 or 988lifeline.org. It's open 24/7, and yeah, stay safe this holiday season. As we go to the first story, everybody knows about this. It was a huge one. Peter Greene had passed away in New York City. Now, obviously, we know Peter Greene from Pulp Fiction. He was the original bad guy in The Mask, the only mask that I'll recognize, because Jamie Kennedy's, I mean, come on, man. We can't be having that around here. Yeah, he played Dorian Tyrell and was one of the most badass villains. I feel bad for anyone. I'm 39 years old. I feel bad for anyone that didn't grow up in this time and didn't get to experience 1994 in cinema, and especially comedy, goofy, kid-friendly comedy. When it came to Jim Carrey, you had Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Ace Ventura all coming out within the same year. Not only was it extremely beneficial for him, but it was beneficial for us. God damn it. And Peter Greene was a major part of that. I didn't know much about his life. It's actually very interesting that he ran away from home at 15 years old, and he became homeless, was a drug addict for a while, and did not pursue a career in acting until his mid-20s. So when I'm looking at different people's careers and stuff like that, I'm always looking at their ages, because, so let's say he started at 25, going out for auditions and stuff like that. He ended up becoming the bad guy in The Mask at 29 years old. So you go from homelessness and drug addiction to becoming one of the most iconic characters of the 90s instantly, which was fucking insane. In the same year the same year he did The Mask, he also did Pulp Fiction. So it's just insane to see someone go from literally the gutter to headlining the biggest movies of the year in 1994. A lot of people were saying different things. I mean, rumors come out in all these cases. With Peter Greene, not much was known other than that he was found in his apartment. And I have a friend that's a neighbor of his. I didn't realize that Peter Greene was not only my friend's neighbor, he's his acting coach, his audition coach specifically. Cliff Moylan. Shout out to Cliff Moylan. If you haven't seen him in movies, if you don't think you've seen him in movies, you have. He always plays cops in different movies and television shows. But what recently came out is that people were freaking out. They're like, was Peter Greene murdered? Because the media can't help themselves when they hear anything about blood. So everyone instantly started running. Page 6 picked it up. I shared the article on my Instagram and Death and Entertainment's Instagram, because we just don't know. And what we did find out through the NYPD and all that is that it's not as crazy as people thought. So like I said, he had struggled with addiction. Who knows if he was, getting into that later in life. But he was found face down, and there was blood. It was reported that blood was everywhere. So that sounds like someone who was completely slaughtered. What actually happened is that there was some sort of event that caused him to fall down face first and possibly break his nose or bust his lip, and he did have a pool of blood around his head. The creepiest part to me is that the reason he was found is because the neighbors in his building, he lived in an apartment building. As any good New York City salt of the earth actor should. You got to be amongst the people, not in these sprawling mansions out here in LA. But yeah, he was found face down in a pool of blood. But the reason they even went and knocked and actually keyed into his apartment is because his neighbors had heard Christmas music playing for like 3 or 4 days in a row, which is one of the creepiest scenes ever, in my opinion. Just the jolliest music of all time with a death. I mean, it reminds me, honestly, of Black Christmas. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie, the 1974 horror flick that, had a lot of joyous music, a lot of snow, and a lot of blood and murder. It's the original movie. I know When a Stranger Calls often gets the credit for it, but Black Christmas in 1974 was the first movie that someone was like, the calls are coming from inside the house. It's a classic. Watch the 74 version, not the 2006 or the 2019 versions. The 2019 version, I guess, someone was saying on Reddit that Black Christmas 2019, while it's recognizable Well, it's not a very recognizable adaptation of Black Christmas from 1974. It is a very recognizable adaptation of that one episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer where she and Cordelia go to a frat party and almost become sacrifices to the demon that the frat boys worship in exchange for wealth and power. So I haven't seen that episode, but now that makes me want to go see both of them to see if they totally match up. But yeah, unfortunately, Peter Greene, it sounds like, was not a murder. It is not looked at as suspicious. It's just an unfortunate thing. It could have been, heart thing. Anything could have happened that caused the scene that they walked into, unfortunately. So to put a bow on that, R.I.P. Peter Greene, and we'll go to the main story of the night because this is a fucking insane one, and everybody knows it. The death of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. Absolutely crazy. The fact that it's just a slow trickle when things come out. It's like very slow and then everything speeds up, especially when you're not getting answers. So the LAPD, they came out and said that they think they were found at 340 and found by their daughter, Romy, I believe her name is, which is so sad. Heart goes out to her that she had to find that scene. Nobody knew why she was there, why, why it was weird that they weren't answering their phones or anything. Maybe they had plans, maybe they didn't. We didn't know. But it sounded like the LAPD came out and said there's a 78-year-old man and a 68-year-old woman that are dead inside the house. And if you did any research whatsoever, you knew that's the ages of Rob Reiner's wife, Michelle. I might be off on the years, but they posted their ages and identities pretty much without saying their names. And people are like, okay, obviously it was them. They came out and did a press conference outside at like 10 or 11 p.m. and said that they have zero information, but they also still opened it up to a Q&A, which is something you probably shouldn't do when you're just trying to give people no information whatsoever. You go up, you have a 2-minute press conference, say, hey, we're working on it, we'll let you know, and then you leave the podium. Or else you get something that happens like this. We will watch the LAPD, I believe this is the police chief, updating the press who, oftentimes we get it wrong if you're trying to be the first out there to get information to the people. And most of the time, TMZ has their sources and stuff like that, but most of the time, if you're an armchair detective or something and you're posting, information about speculative things that might have happened during a murder or some sort of tragic event, oftentimes they get it wrong. Every single reporter here pretty much already has the information.
Are you questioning people now that could be possible suspects and or a person or persons of interest?
Specifically, your first question, no one has been detained. Specifically, your second question, no one is being interviewed.
What were the injuries? What were the injuries? We're being told that this is a stabbing.
Yeah, so we're not going to comment on the injuries at this time. That information will be coming forward in the coming days as it's publicly releasable. If it is part of the investigation and it is not publicly releasable, we will not be releasing it.
Are your detectives inside the
Hold on. One at a time. Whoa.
At this point, he already knows he's in over his head. He's like, fuck, everybody wants to know everything. Why don't you just shut up? Just let me talk for a second.
Whoa. Hold on, one at a time. This gentleman is next.
Are your detectives inside the home right now? Are they getting access to the home right now as we speak?
We're waiting for the legal process to move forward. We have to obtain a search warrant for the residence. As soon as that is complied with, we will be conducting a full crime scene investigation on the interior and the exterior of the residence and the surrounding neighborhood.
Just to follow up, Deputy Chief, is there somebody from the family not allowing detectives inside the home right now?
That's inconsequential. We have to comply with the legal process. It doesn't matter whether the family allows us in or not.
Detective, what are the...
Hold on. Ma'am.
Had a family members been notified? The victim's family members been notified?
Has the family been notified of what? That an incident occurred here?
People already know. They already know something horrific has happened. Someone from the LAPD, someone who had access to some sort of information was definitely leaking it already to TMZ and people.com, which is People magazine. They already knew.
There were 2 victims?
I believe the family is aware.
In other words, why are you not releasing their names? They're out there.
That's going to be the Los Angeles County coroner that releases the information.
Chief, is this a homicide?
Ma'am, go ahead. Your question first.
Yes, is this a homicide?
At this time, it's a death investigation. Again, until we get inside and we make a determination, we can't call it anything. So we're going to conduct that Hold on. We're going to conduct that investigation at the appropriate time. We will identify what kind of incident it is, and if it's determined to be a crime, we will seek the suspect. We will bring them to justice, and we will take them into custody.
The mayor has confirmed it's the Reiners. The mayor has already confirmed it's the Reiners. Can you tell us any more?
I can't speak for the mayor, but
So, the mayor of Brentwood, or the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, has already come out and said that it's the Reiners. And he's probably like, why the fuck is she talking?
I can't speak for the Los Angeles Police Department. The Los Angeles County coroner will identify the decedents that are inside of the residence. And that will be, that will be the official notification and the official identification of the decedents inside of the residence.
Under what circumstances were the bodies discovered?
I'm not going to address
Can you
that.
give us
Ma'am?
more details about meeting the warrants and the family not letting you in? Can you just explain more?
Sure, there's a legal process whenever you're going to conduct an investigation at a crime scene in the state of California. There's certain requirements that you have to meet in order to conduct a thorough investigation. So you don't want to start a crime scene investigation and then have someone say, I need you guys to leave the residence right now. So we're going to, hold on, you asked the question, I'm going to answer. So we have to comply with the legal process. Once the warrant is signed and delivered, we will have access to the crime scene. We will conduct a full, thorough, impartial investigation.
So he's saying there's not even a search warrant yet, but he also already knows what happened. He just doesn't want to tell anybody. You can't have it both ways. You got to tell people, especially in this neighborhood. There's a question that actually comes up later. This is only a few more minutes, but people that live in the neighborhood are actually wondering, are we safe? Is this, someone that's going to come after us? With the climate that's happening in LA, I wouldn't put it past anyone to be nervous, especially in the richer areas that, an eat the rich scenario is popping off. Definitely could happen. So it's not helping calm people down that live in this immediate area.
We will conduct additional investigations in the neighborhood around this area. And then with that information, we will go forward with the investigation, whether it is a death investigation or some other type of investigation.
Besides robbing, his wife, were there other people?
And I do want to be clear, hold on. I want to be clear with one thing. Wherever we can be transparent and provide information to the public, we will release it as soon as we can.
It's been
Alan, is there an understanding about when the decedents may have passed?
No. That's going to be determined by the coroner. The coroner's not here.
It's been about 6 hours since the first report. Why is it taking so long to gain access to start this?
6 hours since the first report, which means it probably happened 4 or 5, 6 hours before that. There's so much time that has passed, and people are freaking the fuck out.
Investigation.
I don't understand.
Well, it's been 6 hours since police were first called to the scene. Why is it taking so long for this investigation?
Just to be clear, there's an initial investigation when the patrol officers arrive. When they make a determination that detectives are needed, they will back out. We will conduct a sweep of the area to make sure that it's safe, and then we will comply with the legal process, and then we move forward. I'm not giving you the exact timeline on that, but I'm telling you that it's moving forward. Pete, you had another question.
Yes, a twofold question. One, how soon do we anticipate getting a warrant where you're able to search the entire property, interior and exterior? Second, do we have an ETA on the coroner's arrival? And once they arrive and make an initial determination, will they be able to give you identification that you can then release?
We'll be obtaining the warrant in real time very shortly if we have not obtained it already. In terms of the coroner's ETA, I cannot tell you when their estimated time of arrival is.
And that's also such bullshit, because there's been plenty of times the LAPD, any type of police department, has come out and listed the names of victims after they knew exactly what was going on. I totally get trying to maintain the integrity of an investigation, but there's so much double talk and crosstalk that I just don't believe that that's what they were trying to do.
We're already in communication with the coroner's office.
As far as the overall investigation is concerned, beyond the initial determination, we have 2 decedents inside. We really haven't done anything in the way of any kind of forensics on the death scene itself, right?
That's correct. We've only done preliminary investigation at this point.
The bodies remain inside, correct, Chief?
No, okay, so nothing has occurred inside the house. The house is in the exact same state it was when the officers arrived.
Nothing has occurred inside the house? What the fuck are we talking about? Of course, there's been a massive tragedy, and you already know what it is, and you're saying you're waiting on a search warrant, but you already know that there are two people in there. You know the exact names of them. You know the exact ages of them. You know their genders, but nothing has occurred inside the house.
Right, just to be clear.
Chief, are we safe in Brentwood tonight?
I'm sorry?
Are we safe in Brentwood tonight, Chief?
I can't hear you.
Are we safe in Brentwood, the neighbors of the community?
Oh, are we safe in Brentwood? I'm sorry. Yeah, so we have officers here at the scene. We have officers in the area. We're not looking for anyone in the Brentwood area at this point. We're not looking for anyone because we're still working on that part of the investigation.
They're not looking for anyone. Yes, they are, first of all, and they know that he's in Santa Monica at a hotel. They already had all the information. I do understand that, you know, sometimes you don't want everything to get out because they still hadn't caught Nick at that point. It was complete rumor, and TMZ actually did run with it just around this time that they reported it was confirmed that Nick Reiner was the person responsible for these murders.
Hold on. Someone over here had a question.
What can you say about the fact that it's been reported it was the son of the family?
I don't understand.
Rob Reiner's son is.
What, reported by who?
People?
Okay, I don't know. People magazine or people in the. I don't know anything about that. Yeah.
Chief,
that did not. Hold on. That did not come from the LAPD. Go ahead.
Deputy Chief, can you give us a sense of how many witnesses, if any, you guys have been able to talk to? Are there people you've been able to already touch base with who've been giving you useful information in terms of what unfolded inside that home?
So we've already been talking to the neighbors. We've already been canvassing the neighborhood and speaking to residents that live around this area. So that's part of our investigation. In terms of someone that may have information regarding what happened inside the residence, we're not going to release that information. That'll be part of the investigation.
Were there other family members living?
There's been no reports from the neighbors regarding hearing anything or seeing anything that we can release to the public.
Were there other family members residing inside the house besides Carl and his wife?
I don't have that information.
Timeline of this murder.
We haven't established that yet. We will establish that soon, and then that'll be part of the investigation.
Cause of death.
The part that is publicly releasable, we will release. The cause of death will be released by the LA County coroner.
Are you looking into them being stabbed?
We're looking into getting the information from the LA County coroner when it's available.
Wow, there was certainly someone leaking a lot of information that people already knew it was Nick. People already knew that they were stabbed. I'm seeing here in the comments, Jeff was asking, is it true that Billy Crystal saw the bodies before the cops arrived? I had not even heard that while that was playing. I looked it up, and it seems like that is true. They're saying TMZ is reporting it right here. Rob and Michelle Reiner, Billy Crystal saw dead bodies. Rep denies description of the scene. This is insane. So the update, a rep for Billy Crystal denies that Billy and his wife saw the bodies of their friends. But the headline says Billy Crystal saw dead bodies. And they're reporting Billy Crystal and his wife Janice saw the slain bodies of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle because TMZ has learned they arrived at the scene in a flash after a family member called them about the horrific discovery. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Rob and Michelle's daughter Romy called Crystal and his wife not long after she called police to report finding her parents brutally murdered inside their Brentwood home Sunday. Sources with direct knowledge tell us Billy and his wife raced over to the house and were there so quickly that the couple saw their slain friends and wanted to say their goodbyes, which, holy shit. Wow. They say, as you know, Rob and Michelle were found Sunday afternoon. Their son Nick was located and arrested on suspicion of murder about 6 hours later. And he's currently being held on bail, without bail on suicide watch. Whew. God, that's horrific. I hope they're okay. Because that is just fucking brutal. Initial reports indicated Crystal and his wife rushed to the scene because they wanted to say their goodbyes. Arrived so quickly they saw their friends before the area was fully cordoned off. Crystal appeared visibly emotional and was seen wiping tears away from his face at the scene. But either Billy Crystal's publicist, more likely, or manager or agent later denied they saw the bodies, stating they were not allowed that close to the residence. Regardless, multiple sources and eyewitness accounts suggest they were present at the home shortly after the discovery and were in close proximity to the crime scene while first responders were present. Whew. And that drags in another celebrity that, you know, is going to be horrified and traumatized for the rest of their life, because nobody knew what set this off. I mean, there were obviously signs. There were different things that we already knew, like Nick was definitely a drug addict, definitely emotionally disturbed. And it's really brutal because, you know, Rob Reiner, he loved his son, obviously, but he put up with a lot of drug abuse and Nick destroying the house many times and freaking out, threatening people. And Nick would always go on interviews and like brag about, oh, I was so fucked up. I don't even remember, but I just destroyed the house. Like he always wanted to seem like he was cool because he was tough. And they actually created a movie together in 2015. We talked about it on OK Bud a little bit. It's called Being Charlie. And that is the movie that Nick actually wrote. And it was about him and his addiction and his relationship with his father. It was screened in the special presentation section of the 2015 Toronto International Film Festival on September 14, 2015. The film is based on Nick Reiner's experiences following his heroin addiction and homelessness. Yeah, so I guess when he was growing up, it was tough. Rob didn't know what to do, was at his wit's end. He said, you either need to go to rehab or I need to get out of my house. So he's like, I'm going to be homeless. You don't want your son being homeless, do you? And Rob was pretty much like, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. You can't live here anymore. So he kicked him out. And then Nick became homeless. He traveled across the country just kind of as a vagabond. I don't know how much money he had. He says he's homeless. I don't know if that's couch surfing or true homelessness on the streets. We may never know. But he said he was homeless in Maine, New Jersey, Texas, everywhere. And then finally went to rehab again. I think he did like 15, 16 stints somewhere, or at different places, and met some people there. And they tried to write like a half-hour sitcom that was like a little bit darker, which sounds interesting. I love the darker sitcoms that deal with real shit. But Rob said, you know, he wanted to try to make it like a dramedy, like let's make it an hour long, make a limited series on it. And that didn't go. And then they were like, fuck it, let's just do a 2-hour movie. And so, yeah, Charlie's a troubled addict who's been in and out of rehab for years. On his 18th birthday, he walks out of a youth rehab facility in rural Utah and throws a rock through a stained glass window of the facility's chapel. And then goes on and just, he's given the choice between another try at rehab or going to jail in Utah for damaging the glass, and reluctantly chooses the adult rehab. And so, yeah, him and his buddies at rehab ended up creating this movie. And they did a bunch of interviews and stuff, and Nick just seemed odd. Try to bring one up here. He just seemed, and I completely understand if like you're born into, you know, Hollywood royalty, essentially, which Rob Reiner, love him or hate him for whatever reason, he's an amazing filmmaker, has been a part of a million projects that we all know and love. And his dad was insanely famous. And that must be hard on a kid, especially when you're trying to pave your own way. And then your first big movie comes out and it's your dad that, you know, helped craft it and direct it. So it always seemed like he was upset that he was living in the shadow of his father, which is some Shakespearean shit. Because everything seemed, after that movie, it seemed like they got along well and Nick was doing okay. It didn't make the headlines that Nick was like out there getting arrested, getting into fights all the time. There are people like that on Hollywood Boulevard where, you know, you'll see troubled child actors or, you know, guys that you recognize from movies and TV that are drinking too much and staring people down on the boulevard. As far as I'm concerned, I didn't hear any of that stuff. Not that I know everything, but I guess what happened is that he did relapse recently. And of all people, they went to Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. which is supposed to bring everybody together. It's supposed to be the end of the year. Let's have fun. Drink some eggnog. Be merry and gay. All that stuff. But who saw, Conan O'Brien getting wrapped into this? Apparently Billy Crystal and his wife getting wrapped into this. And Bill Hader, of all people, getting wrapped into this, who is notoriously one of the nicest people around. Oh, that's a great point here from the chat saying Rob lived in his dad's shadow as well. That's a very good point. So he's casting two shadows. But you're right. Rob learned how to deal with it and make it work. It's not something that you need to have a chip on your shoulder about. You can be your own person. They're two very different comedic and, dramatic voices as well. So yeah, there's so much weird stuff that happened from this night and what was supposed to happen the next day. Rob and Michelle Reiner murders Rob and son Nick in heated argument at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. This is also from TMZ. They're saying Rob Reiner, his wife Michelle, and their son Nick attending Conan O'Brien's Christmas party Saturday night. At the party, Rob and Nick got into a very loud argument. Loud enough for many others to hear. Reiner family sources tell TMZ. We're told Rob and Michelle then left the party. We don't know if Nick left as well, which it turned out that he did. Family sources said Michelle had been anguishing to friends over the last few months that she and Rob were at their wits' end over Nick's mental illness and alleged substance abuse issues and did not know what to do with their son, saying, "We've tried everything." Which I completely believe. So the reason they got into a huge argument is because apparently Nick was just intoxicated, whether, substances, what have you. Not sure which ones he was on, but it seemed like he was being erratic and annoying a lot of people. Which is obviously embarrassing. You bring your son to something and they start acting up, and it's like, dude, chill the fuck out. But you can't say that because they'll flip the fuck out. So Nick was actually asked to leave Conan O'Brien's holiday party hours before his parents, Rob and Michelle, were found dead in their home. The couple's youngest son attended the comedian's party on Saturday, December 13th with Rob and Michelle. He was brought to the party so that his parents could keep an eye on him, which is such a bad move. I mean, I know this is Monday morning quarterbacking, but I've dealt with a lot of people with substance abuse issues, and you just can't do it. I mean, as difficult as it is, and I'm sure it was for him to kick him out of the house and know that he was going to be homeless, that's something that a lot of people, addicts specifically, will use as leverage over you. Like, you care about me. You don't want me to be homeless, do you? And so then you have this enormous guilt, and you feel like you can fix people, or at least, if you're around me more, they say we're, the amalgamation of the 5 people we hang out with the most. And if you're around bad people, you'll turn bad. If you're around a lot of good people, a lot of positive people, you'll be good and positive. And so that's what they thought they were doing. So that is just brutal. I didn't even realize this, that they brought him to the party to keep an eye on him, which they should, anyone you're trying to keep an eye on when it comes to liquor and drug addiction, not a holiday party, especially not a celebrity one in LA, because there will be drugs there. I know Conan's a very up and up guy. He's fine, but there's going to be people there doing some nefarious things. So while they were there, Nick interrupted comedian Bill Hader with a series of unsettling questions. Nick allegedly asked Hader and several other guests the same set of questions. What's your name? What's your last name? Are you famous? Which is hilarious, because this is how a lot of people in LA operate. They feel like they don't need to talk to you unless they know that you can do something for them, or you're worthy of standing next to get a picture because you can get some clout. And when you're intoxicated, those, normal tendencies to kind of cover that up a little bit and ask normal questions and just talk to people and kind of find things out, that's gone. So he's like, what's your first name? What's your last name? Are you famous? Should I be talking to you? And so, yeah, this this made people feel weird. So Rob and his son got into a heated argument during the party, with one guest alleging that Rob told his son that his behavior was inappropriate. Yes. Another guest told the New York Times that Nick seemed anxious and uncomfortable throughout the night, quote, in a way that deeply unsettled them. A guest similarly revealed to People magazine Nick was freaking everyone out, acting crazy, kept asking people if they were famous. Nick was eventually asked to leave, and the bodies of Rob and Michelle were found less than 24 hours after the A-list party. Nick, now, of course, he's facing 2 charges of first-degree murder. The charges include a special allegation that Reiner used a dangerous weapon, that being a knife, which, yeah, they had another press conference that was much more information-laden, where they did discuss the charges, and that, to me, it's just funny that you can get arrested for murder and then get in more trouble for using a murder weapon. Friends of the Reiner family have recounted Nick's decades-long battle with substance abuse. Since he was a teen, Nick had struggled with drug addiction, bouncing between homelessness and rehab several times. Quote, Nick was always troubled, even in his early teens. Alan Horn, Rob's co-founder of production house Castle Rock Entertainment, told the Wall Street Journal. Rob and Michelle kept all this very private, but they did share with us and others that they struggled with Nick's addiction issues, tried everything, and were really at a loss as to what else to do. Yeah, and on the 2015 press junket of Being Charlie, the father-son duo gave a candid press tour to promote the movie, with Rob saying it was cathartic and therapeutic to make the film. Rob told NPR in 2016 that his son was the heart and soul of the film and described Nick as brilliant and talented. In the same interview, Nick was asked if he would work with his father again. And he said, oh yeah, but I think for now, it's best for me to at least to be sort of independent. But that's not to say that I didn't have an amazing experience, which that's clearly he's facing some sort of chip on his shoulder, having to deal with the fact that his dad, maybe he feels without his dad, he wouldn't have got that movie made, which is probably true. And it sucks, but it's also a great thing that you're able to get off the starting line. That's everyone's biggest problem, is not being able to even get into the arena to where the starting line is. Say Nick reportedly felt immense pressure to live up to his father's legacy. And we say it all the time on OK Bud, you can't compare yourself to anyone else. You're in your own race. Speaking with NPR again in September, Rob said Nick was in a really good place and that he hadn't been doing drugs for over 6 years. Cinematographer Barry Markowitz, who recently stayed with the Reiners, said Nick seemed to be on the upswing when he last saw him. He looked great. He was sitting and talking with the family. They ate dinner together, old school, had a lot of love. They always had a lot of love. But then, yeah, over the last few months, they said that each of their parents said that they were at their wits' end privately with their son, which is just so fucking brutal. Let's see. Checking the comments here. Yeah, and so that's what I'm saying. So we have one comment here saying, oh man, I hope Conan or whoever decided to kick him out doesn't feel guilty. This was never going to end well. And I completely agree. That's, like I said, it's the fucking holidays. This is when people are supposed to be relaxing, not putting pressure on themselves, which everybody does anyway, because they want their holiday to be good. But Jesus, you can't put this on yourself. And Bill Hader must feel awful as well, because he, I believe, was the last person to be like, hey, we're in a private conversation here. Like, beat it. Which maybe they were, maybe they weren't. It sounds like they probably weren't. It sounds like Nick was way too fucked up to be in that environment. Is Dernick saying, what a doomed existence? Yeah. Could be the do you know who I am type. Yeah. Claire saying, as parents, they did everything they could. It's so sad that this is the outcome. Yeah, it's brutal. And it's weird, too, because as we've found out, the LAPD had so much more information to go on than they were sharing, which we're not entitled to everything, but it did seem like they zeroed in on Nick immediately. What's also weird about this is who they were supposed to meet the next day. And this is being reported as true. So this is starting a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. What's going on? Says here from Axios, Obamas were set to see Reiners the night they were found dead. Former First Lady Michelle Obama revealed Monday she and the former president were set to see legendary director Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner the day the couple was found dead. Now, if you know anything about the Obamas, they randomly had their chef die at their compound. Someone who could swim very well posted videos of himself swimming and died in a freak drowning accident. So now people are like, oh my God, are the Reiners tied to the Epstein list? They don't want it to come out. Were they meeting with the Obamas so that they would be told to shut up? I don't know any of that. It is interesting. They're saying the big picture, the Reiners' death triggered mourning across Hollywood and beyond. President Trump used their deaths to mock Reiner, which he did. That was so fucking disgusting. He ended up saying Rob Reiner died of Trump derangement syndrome, essentially. And then when people were like, do you regret your words? He doubled down and said no. He's like, I didn't like him. And saying pretty much like he felt bad for him because he used to be somebody in Hollywood and now he's not because he doesn't like me. Trump wrote on Truth Social, Reiner died from, quote, a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. Then he told reporters Monday the film icon was very, very bad for our country and a deranged person. And then I guess the First Lady, former First Lady Michelle Obama was on a Monday appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and she said, unlike some people, Rob and Michelle Reiner are some of the most decent, courageous people you ever want to know. They're not deranged or crazed. In a time where there's not a lot of courage going on, they find they were the kind of people who were ready to put their actions behind what they cared about. And they cared about their family, they cared about this country, they cared about fairness and equity, and that is the truth. Which, you know, love or hate whatever Rob Reiner said behind the political microphone, I mean, he did it because he did care. Might not be the same things you care about, but it wasn't a lot of hate-filled stuff like this that I just hate seeing. Especially with something so tragic and traumatic. To make it about you and be like, well, because you didn't like me, fuck you. There was a deranged person in the family. It just wasn't them. And then Trump talked about Nick saying he was a tortured and struggling. Oh, wait, no, that was about Rob. Yeah. He said Rob was tortured and struggling, but once a very talented movie director and comedy star. Which Rob was not tortured, really, outside of this situation, I would imagine. And definitely not struggling. It was weird. I didn't even expect this, but I guess, you know, as Rob Reiner was very involved in the political world, there was a lot of people kind of putting his murder up against Charlie Kirk's. There were some people celebrating Rob Reiner's death, which is disgusting. And I think it's disgusting if people celebrated Charlie's too. Said even prominent voices in the MAGA movement have said the president's reaction was inappropriate. Podcaster Tim Pool wrote Monday that while Trump has personal reasons to be upset with Reiner, he can do better. Pool pointed to Reiner's very gracious response to the killing of Charlie Kirk in September. The director said the attack on the slain MAGA activist should never happen to anybody, and the videos of his death were absolute horror. Former President Obama also applauded the Reiners in a Monday statement for their lives, for their, quote, lives defined by purpose, saying they will be remembered for the values they championed and the countless people they inspired. Yeah, so the reason they were found in the first place is they were supposed to go to get some massages with their daughter Romy, and then later that night meet up with the Obamas. Which, if I was going to meet up with a presidential family, I'd want to relax too. And God damn it, did they earn it? And then, yeah, she called the cops, and apparently Billy Crystal. I had no idea that happened. That is so wild. And so from here on out, Nick is fucked, for lack of a better word. I don't think there's any way he's going to get out of this trial, but he is going to try his damnedest because he hired none other than Karen Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson. To many in Massachusetts and beyond, he's a hero. I think a lot of people are upset with him for doing such a great job with Karen. If you followed the Karen Reed case, which we will be putting out a Die After Dark about the Karen Reed and Sandra Birchmore cases combined, because they're intertwined with all the police corruption in Massachusetts. It's a lot of the same players, a lot of the same actors that help cover up a murder of a young woman who was actually being sexually assaulted as a child by a police officer in the area. And the same police officers that helped cover up that fact that he killed her and made it look like suicide were the same ones persecuting Karen Reed when they knew that it was not possible for her to have killed him with the SUV. So a lot of people are upset. They're like, dude, you just were on the right side of history. Why are you now going to Nick Reiner and saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to defend you. Which on the surface, I kind of agree with. If you want to be seen as like the national hero, then play that role. But nothing talks louder than money. So let's not forget who Alan Jackson has also represented here. He's represented Phil Spector. We'll go through this article from Fox and we'll get out of here. So they say Alan Jackson, the former Los Angeles prosecutor turned star defense attorney, is taking one of his darkest Hollywood cases yet, defending Nick Reiner, the son of a filmmaker, Rob Reiner. He's accused of killing both of his parents in their Brentwood home. The Reiners were found dead with stab wounds in the ritzy community of Brentwood, California. After a career of marquee cases, this may be his biggest yet, which I don't agree with. I mean, no, I don't know. The scope of the tragedy probably is going to get a lot of press. Me being biased from Boston, I would say Karen Reed is going to be, up there on his award trophy mantle for the rest of his career and history. Quote, there are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. That's what Jackson told reporters after the initial court appearance on Wednesday. So today, we ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not to rush to judgment and not jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and dignity, with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. Yeah. You got to say that about your client, for sure. The Reiner case casts him opposite the L.A. District Attorney's Office, where he was previously a top prosecutor. In 2009, Jackson prosecuted Phil Spector. Okay. The once famed music producer who gunned down actress Lana Clarkson in his California mansion, dubbed the Pyrenees Castle. Knowing Alan for 6 months, we tortured each other. I think he's actually the perfect person for this case, quite frankly, said Linda Kenny Baden, who represented Spector in his first trial, which ended in a mistrial. He had a different legal team the second time around when Jackson won a conviction. She said Jackson has two distinct sides, one of the in-your-face pressure and another dedicated to deeply investigating the circumstances of his cases. So, yeah, he also defended Kevin Spacey, who probably did some things he shouldn't have been doing. So this isn't his first rodeo dealing with people who might be more than not guilty of the things they were accused of. He also represented disgraced Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein. So although we do look at Alan Jackson as a goddamn hero, and he is, he's not above taking the cash and running while allowing his people to go to prison. Which I guess in that realm of the world, in that industry, that's something you kind of have to make peace with. Oh, yeah, Morrissey and crew taking credit for Brian Walsh's conviction yesterday when we all know they were corrupt as fuck. Completely agree. And the fuck, I forget his name right now. Nick something. He was the one that did all the text messaging for the Karen Reed trial, and he was like, oh, it's all bullshit with the Jen McCabe stuff, but everything that Karen Reed said in her text makes her guilty as hell. In the Sandra Birchmore trial, he said there were no text messages whatsoever that showed a relationship between Matthew Farwell and Sandra Birchmore, that they had any relationship or there was any abuse whatsoever. When the feds took the phone and they got out all of the information, there were over 45,000 text messages showing that there was not only an illegal relationship, but that there were threats made right before the murder. It's insane. So these guys, they'll fucking gloat one time and then cover something up the next. But we do love Alan Jackson around here. But I just think Nick Reiner, he's going to prison for the rest of his life, no matter what. It's too obvious. He went to his hotel room, which he bought before the murders occurred. And then there's video footage of him, getting Red Bulls and stuff like that, walking around Santa Monica. And then he goes to Brentwood. Whatever happens, happens. He comes back. And when they keyed into his room, there was blood everywhere. So he tried to clean up. There was blood in the shower, in the sink, all over the place. There's no getting around that, buddy. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Keep your eyes peeled for these. It's going to be once a week, maybe Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, around maybe 6, 7. Let me know when's good for you guys. When would you want to see a live stream regarding stories like this? Yeah, I will be in touch through Death and Entertainment through the holiday. There's going to be an in memoriam done while I'm back in Boston. Maybe I'll have some people on that. It'll be a little bit of fun recounting everyone's lives that we lost this year. And yeah, just have a good holiday, everybody. Be safe. I love you. Don't go dying on us. Bye-bye.